Apologies for being late to the discussion on this. I've been working hard to get Makai Senki done before October actually starts. Videos, public releases for the scripted stuff is starting again tomorrow, so, check out Daily Motion for that. I'll be working on getting stuff on YouTube again in the next week or so. It's been a long month. But it's been an even longer year with Ghost, and yeah, I'll save those comments for after I recap quickly yuohger this week. As is with yuohger's track record, it's continuing to do excellent, and once again contrasting itself against its former series with the final mech acquisition of Joe Whale. Now, it's once again heavily focused on Yamato because he's the Red Ranger that's getting the final mech for his private piloting, as they do with this series. Not series, franchise, as they tend to do with this franchise. And, it actually wasn't that over-focused on him, as it followed back up on with Sella and Michi from last time, and why Misao was so gung-ho to try and finally stand up with everyone else, and it's pretty much because he feels like he keeps letting them down, and that isn't the most out of place thing, but it's because of his bouts of sudden depression that he usually screws things up, and this is no different from that. So it's kind of they're using the joke with him appropriately, as it's driving his character and the way he's developing, and how the ways they keep getting him out of it are providing incentives to not make him get down like that again, whether it's Sella's support, the empathy he shares with Tusk and how he similarly gets abrasive, or the way it irritates Leo, are all ways for him to get out of that funk by either challenging through compassion, or I used empathy with Tusk already to describe what his thing with Tusk already, but that it is kind of what's going on with him. So to see him once more come out of this and showcase a new way he'll be able to bounce back faster, it's good, especially as there's kind of an elaboration on why he's so often a sad sack, and that he's never really been able to connect to people. He's always been alone. He's been a lone wolf. I know the pun for there, since he has the wolf beast man in him, is, yeah, it's pretty funny when you think about it. Now he's got these people around him he doesn't want to let down, not just because of wanting to make up for what he did when he was controlled, but he doesn't want to lose them. And of course, if they're really your friends, then you won't lose them so easily, but he doesn't get that yet. And the moments with him and Sella talking about this while they're recovering from the poisoning last episode are all really good, and all consistently feed into that while informing past actions and hopefully motivating some of his shifts and turns in the future. And this is why I really like this show. It's like it's building off of itself for this stuff all the time. Genis, of course, isn't much interested in the cube whale after this, because due to deploying Gift Custom, he's gotten data on it which will be used in their future pursuits, and in the interim he was just entertained by potentially preventing Bangray from getting his prey, as, hey, the blood game is entertainment at any cost, so it makes sense for him to want something and then, settle for the second place prize after the other players gets what they really want, get the first place one. It works for me, especially since it's more malevolent leadings of why he suddenly gives up on it after the yuohger claim it. Though we see a bit more of what's going on with Kubal. I keep screwing up the names of the two interim players, Assault and Kubel. Yeah, Assault is the one with the thing, and I really don't care. Yeah, he is finding out that his little double-cross plans concerning his revenge on Genis are definitely more complex, as even though he's the schemer, he doesn't have the foresight and planning of Genis with how Genis keeps everything in his head, so even though he seems like he's just interested in his own entertainment, he's playing a longer game than anyone else. So even with Azald, who's biding his time, he doesn't know how close or what opportunities he has. So, and honestly, being the player and being so close, he probably doesn't even know when he's missed his opportunity or when he actually would have been able to actually take on Genis for this supposed revenge for destroying his world that has made him a player. So he's in his search for revenge, he's being played, and that's plainly obvious to see from just these two episodes, further informing that. And I want to see more of that take focus, simply to see to where this is going, what he'll try, what extremes he might go for when he realizes that all of what he's been working for in secret has been for nothing. Admittedly, I just want to see more of it so it's further fleshed out, aside from just a basic motivation for why he's a player, but it's still interesting nonetheless. The stuff about Yamato getting the cube whale is pretty much standard stock for sentient mecha in this franchise, and definitely what's been consistent with Yamato this entire series. Empathizing, using compassion, trying to understand the wild beast, especially through his veterinary training. Actually, that's amusing, because I keep saying that Kamen Rider follows after a certain proceeding with Sentai. In other words, they have similar gimmicks or similar things show up in one show and then show up in the show following. And Yamato's planning to be a doctor for animals, and Exide is going to be a doctor for humans, just gains the power of video games. The yuohger have the secondary gaming thematic for all of their mecha, and the whole Minecraft motif for kind of their powers, and then Exide's full-on retro gaming. And this just continues that odd parallel we've been seeing for a few series now, and how that keeps happening. But yeah, it was pretty good for Yamato, as well as it's like, you know, it's not so easy to connect to something that won't even look at you, won't even make contact with you, will shove you to the side, and then Yamato has to figure out from his own limited knowledge what's really going on. And the reality is that the cube whale it misses his original partner, the original Zuo whale, who's Ketas. Yes, that was the name. As always, I remind people when I do these videos, I am terrible with names. But yeah, it just missed him and never felt like it really connected with anyone, so Yamato realized when he was trying to mass call Cube Whale that it really wasn't, it was just opening an old wound in how Ketas is dead, long dead, and it's been alone all this time without anyone to connect to. And it takes a pretty long volley of attacks from Bangray trying to hit the whale that Yamato keeps stopping with either his own attacks to break those attacks, or even with his body for it to finally respond to him. And I don't feel like there's an established long connection, but it's gotten the whale out of its solidarity. And if the rap scene with it's greeting all of its cube animal brethren and being very I don't want to use the word needy, but My mom has a dog that is pretty much the same way. Just follows her around like nothing else in the world matters because yeah, she's terrified of the rest of us that live here too. That it barely comes to us unless she's not around, and even when she comes around, it's like to get us to try and take her to my mother because she's that much of a um, well, that's the same kind of thing that was happening in the wrap up scene with the whale and how it's just following Yamato around now in its tiny toy-like cube form. That's shows how attention starved it is right now and needs to further connect to everyone. And they might be following up with that in lead up to the final mech combination, which we've been getting preview images of now, not just of the toy version in design drawings, but actual preview images from the show. Speaking of those images, I don't like how the final combination is going to look. I really prefer Wild Tosai King as the more balanced, awesome combination, even though this final combination, Wild Dodeca Tosai King, I'm blanking on the exact phrasing they used for that, but it's going to be the first 14-point combination in the franchise. I mean, it's only topped previously by Wild Tosai King's 13, so it's only like one more to the combination, but still, it's a new record setter, and it doesn't exactly look bad. It's just that almost all the other mechs become the legs, so it's kind of like unbalanced in how it's using all of its resources. Guess I can't put it off anymore. Ghost's final episode was more focused on epilogue for the show as opposed to teasing the next one, but the teases for the next one are exceedingly stupid because it all involves a brat named Ayumu who uses a Ganmeiser gate to come from the Gamma world, presumably, and then steals the collectible trinkets from the next series, Gashats. They're the, I don't even know what to call them. They look like gaming cartridges, but with a crystalline display thing that you can probably see the images online. He steals it from Genmu, Genm. That's how people are spelling it. It's spelled with the characters for Ge and Mu, so might just be Genmu, might be Genm with the oo sound gone, and the show hasn't started yet. We don't know yet. Where was I going with this? He pretty much incites the entire antagonism between the two sides because the little brat steals it. And of course, Genmu, I'm going with that for now. I probably will have to change my pronunciation of it when we actually get to the show. Please don't bug me over it right now. He steals it from Genmu, and then Genmu, he doesn't even do anything antagonizing towards the kid. As Makoto and Alan just don't even allow him to explain, and he doesn't talk throughout the entire thing where he's trying to get this thing back from this brat, and how does the brat even know about this cartridge being somehow tied to the fate of the world, or how it might influence the future, or even know the future, or even be able to predict the future? And the show does not explain because they do not give any elaboration about this brat. You fail completely because you don't tell anyone what is going on. And no, you cannot justify this by sequel beg, because that is what you were doing the entire time with this thing. It's like, what, is he going to show up in the next the next Kamen Rider crossover movie for December? You can't tease that because you don't know who's writing it. Is it set up for the Kamen Rider Spectre V-Cinema that they just announced this last week? We don't care! You're not supposed to sequel bag that shit! You're not supposed to you're supposed to tie it into existing material or set up for the show that's starting next week. You do not sequel bag in an epilogue. Yeah, that's pretty much my my frustration with this, because it doesn't tie into anything in the series. Hell, the Gunmeiser gate it uses to get here instead of a general Ganma gate is the only allusion to this possibly being something like the Great Eye. But it's dressed like the kid's dressed in all white, so that's not exactly allusion to that, since you know, the entire Ganma world's inhabitants woke up, so that's not plausible. He cries for his dad in his sleep. That's not plausible because we don't know who his father is. I doubt it's some leftover thing from Ghost's movie, since they already established that was in canon with the main series, unlike some other movies I could name. It's just, I don't know where he came from. We are told nothing tangible about him or his motivations. He incites antagonism between two rider factions that is only alleviated on ghosts are the entire perpetrators of this, because they won't actually talk to anybody, and, you know, just took a guy in a suit, a kid, and, you know, the kid having something that looks like the equipment on his belt, and they don't ask what is going on. I hate this trope in fiction where two superheroes fight just because no one will explain either side. It's so stupid, and it's like, Main storyline. Takeru's back to school and normal crap because he's no longer a ghost, thus he's no longer inciting, you know, he no longer has a reason to skip out on his classwork and all that, and problem is he was 18. I mean, the show ended in a the show started in October. We know this. So if he was 18 at the time, it means that he was likely out of school by this point, as in graduated. So if otherwise, he would have started out the show in, you know, a school uniform of some sort, or you know, because this is the first time it's appeared, unless he started college, but that wouldn't allow him to have missed school for, it's like, okay, it might have, but it wasn't something alluded to at the beginning of the show, so I'm not counting it. It's just an oddity there. And they say this has all happened in the last 6 months. 200 days, the reset time, of course, alluding to this. First 100 days was October to early January. The second 100 days was January to middle of summer, so summer break, then back to school. It bugs me because you're ignoring your own rules for this stuff, and it's alluded to that this happens right after the 200th day, so 7 months I could buy, just not 6. Where was I going with this? Yeah, it's just that the closure for this is really unsatisfying, as it's like you're going back to your normal life. I mean, I know you're appreciative of life, but it's like you've learned nothing. The show is admitting that because he's avoiding his schoolwork, aside from Akari forcing him to do it. He's using any advantage to get out of it, and you learned nothing. You have no motivation to try and change the world. You're not endeavoring to grow into something that would let me rephrase. You're not endeavoring to take on any pursuit that would encourage saving people's lives, like, say, becoming a doctor or something like that in what you're studying, because they assume it's just high school stuff with how they lay all this out when it shouldn't be, and it's just, that's the same thing I keep coming back to. You learned nothing. You were applying none of the morals, philosophies, or lessons you learned while dead or from the legendary icons to your real life, or the people around you with their own pursuits, or the people you helped to manifest their own wills. It's like you reset yourself to zero, dude, just by coming back to life. And these lessons are all things you learned mentally, and your mind was with your soul in manifesting as a ghost, and like something should have stuck from the journey you've been on. There should have been some exaltation of self if you really wanted to say your life is burning bright, or you're going to shine like the luminaries that helped you along your way. And there's nothing. There is literally nothing. I can understand Alan and Makoto's chosen goals in rebuilding the Gamma world and helping Alan, except few things are wrong with this. One, the state of the Gamma world was not the doing of the Gamma world citizens. In fact, from what we were told in the early series, the stasis they were all put in was a way to survive whatever calamity kind of ruined the world, because people were dying from it, and that motivated their original actions by wanting to seal themselves in that state, and they didn't get everyone, and that was what started the loss of will to maintain that connection from Alan's dad, because, son and wife died, affected by grief and that, others traumatized by it to potentially shut off their emotions, and pretty much you've got the same situation that you had 150 years ago, or more, depending on how long this actually took to construct before there was no civilization left. And then people kept dying because the Genmaiser kept killing them to power themselves, and the protection for the Great Eye, and the whole icon system, which is still working because Ghost still has Ore, Spectre still has the Spectre icon, and Necron still has the Necron icon, meaning there are still 3 users of the icon system, and yet the greater Gamma system and all of the luminary icons are MIA. And maybe they made them in a different way that would allow them to manifest... No, I shouldn't say that, because Ore is at the least powered by Takeru's own soul. We know nothing about Spectre's icon, so we can't exactly say it's the same for him. It could potentially be it. But Necrom, okay, artificial icon system, because it takes from others, so maybe it could have been connected to Alan itself, so, okay, maybe those could survive the shutdown of the Gamma system, since they're not powered by the Gamma system. Okay, I would be okay with that, if they explained it. But, here's the thing about this. World is uninhabitable. Okay. Alan wants to finally change this, which they should have been doing in the first place, which means if they haven't, then they can't. And mid-series, we already know that those conditions of the Gamma world coming over to an Earth-like planet are hostile and would debilitate the people there, meaning they're stuck back in the same situation from however long ago this was again. And here's the big one. Kanan goes with them. Kanan, as was established in the lore, was put in stasis because, as I was describing before with the uninhabitable state, she can't survive there. She almost died before they put her in stasis. She was almost dying again when they did the Demia Project's attempt to make the Earth's environment like the Gamma worlds in one of their earlier connect them all into Gamma form to force them into salvation kind of things before, the Demia Project became the running gag of they kept doing these other things that weren't actually the Demiya project. So it's like, I'm yelling at Makoto in this, in that you let your sister go back to the world where even being there is lethal to her. How did you get past this entire situation if you are that fucking stupid? I'm yelling the entire time because this is that writer's discourse we've discussed before, like back with Ryuki and the quarreling between Yatsuko Kobayashi and Toshiki Inoue, where they ignored each other's additions or contradicted each other's additions. That was one of the reasons that show turned out so horrible, because then they'd be stuck with each other's messes when they switched back. And here's Fukuda again, and Hasegawa did nothing for most of the show because he had nothing and was being respectful, and then Fukuda comes back, and it's complete contradiction of what he actually did. And it's not like this is stuff from back in the show where Fukuda was just on trading off, not having that long absence where nothing happens. It was like mid-20s. Admittedly, that is when the show started to turn to shit, because where we've marked that now is from Grateful's reveal onwards, where everything went downhill. Essentially, the Gunmeiser plot coming into focus onwards, but it's like, you're ignoring stuff you made really damn important before with this resolve and revelation, when, here's the thing, you still have the ability to create Ganma gates. You still have the ability to take all of these people and move them to the planet that won't kill them. I mean, I understand reformation, but we've had refugees from another plane of existence before. You know which series that was? Black RX. And I'm going to reiterate the points I made here. I should say in those reviews. You had no reason to ever be invaders if your goal was to get your people over to this other place where the conditions weren't worth dying over. And that's the ultimate idiocy of Adele. They sought immortality, they sought to spread immortality and use people that were innocent in this to farm their own supposed immortality in a world where they could not live, when they could give up that immortality and go here, where you won't die if you're out in your own body. Ah! But yeah, aside from the stupid Ayumu kid plot of it, with that kid not having any explanation to him at all ever, which would justify what the fuck is going on with him, otherwise the basic X-Side Ghost team-up is okay, since they just fight a bunch of X-Side's virus-based mooks with a few elements of his show showing up, like these odd bricks which, when he breaks them, create these coins that grant power-ups. Specifically in this episode's case, it gives Takeru the X-Side Legend Rider Ghost icon. It even has the 18 on it. So I'm betting that is also sequel begging for the movie. I'm assuming the Versus movie with them in it, but who knows at this point. It's just, this whole thing just, it hurts. It hurts so much. It's like, I'm yelling at them throughout the entire episode to stop being stupid. And I can't believe this got... You ended on such a horrible note to a series that admittedly had gotten screwed over 2 ways, 3 ways, how many ways from everything else going on at Toei. The Amazons causing the construction of all its suits to be backlogged, the reduction in budget causing reduction in the ways they could actually do effects work and do location shoots, Fukuda leaving the show for half the series at the end of it. he wrote like less than half the episodes of the show he was the main writer for. Don't quote me on that. I probably should double check that, but at this point I just don't care. Hasegawa's bad writing when he doesn't know what to do. The repetitious nature of all the plots and how they kept repeating themselves when there were other things in the show that should have taken focus, like exposition on so many things, Makoto's time in the Gamma world, the cuts, the Legend of Hero Allen specials, which are just scenes cut from the episodes because they went over time. It's like, there is so much to dislike with this show, and it's not even the worst show in the franchise. How do you do that? And I mean that. It's not the worst show in the franchise. There's nothing offensive in here. It's just badly told, rushed. It's like, and hell, Takeru's speeches they're all terrible. They're really all terrible. This is probably the worst non-offensive writer series. I make that qualification as, yeah, there are definitely ones that piss me off more. And Takeru as a writer is small potatoes, but it's just like there's so much to dislike here. Oh, and there's another one. The curb stomp nature of the battles, where they're never even, and it's either you're overwhelmed or there's not even a challenge. Like, who does that? Seriously. And I'm just gonna keep coming up with new ones as I go on with this. So, if you watched Ghost all the way through with me, I apologize. I really do. I should have seen this coming. I should have just cut myself off with Grateful, because that episode was downright ugh. And I know there's going to be worse. I hope Backside is better. I really do. The suits, okay, they're beginning to grow on me. I'm usually the Decade defender. I'm the guy who goes, real men wear pink, so that part of it isn't so bad for me. The green accenting, yeah, it's annoying. That's a bit more annoying. I'm not a fan of the retro look, but it possibly will grow on me. I don't know. I'm very interested in the series, but after this, I want to give it my 5-episode rule. I know some people can tell whether a series is going to be good or bad by the first episode or the first 3 episodes. I usually give it 5 to be lenient. I mean, by these shows, it's usually where the first form change shows up, and you can't always tell where they're going to go from that, but by the 5th episode, you should be able to have clearly set up your show and the general arc it's going to run. You can have twists and turns along the way. Bono from Drive, he was first mentioned by episode 10, but you kind of got an illusion that there was something more with the Roidmudes by episode 5 to even catch your attention enough to be into that. The best ones usually set all that stuff up in the first episode by teases that get fleshed out by at the very least episode 5. That's usually why I give, 50 episode series, 5 episodes is 10% of it, so that's not unreasonable. But yeah, I don't want to go through recapping another awful show. I'm hoping Next Side is not awful. I'm liking some of the designs for the supplementary weapons from the preview information alone. We've not really gotten that much of its story ideas. So I'm looking forward to it next week. This was exhausting to go through, especially once Ninja got done with and we got so much good from yuohger. I hated to be shifting all of my anger and rage at Ninja off into Ghost almost immediately as it ended. But that was how the show went by its end. Since I've been buying the V Cinemas the last few shows, I bought the Gaim ones and I bought the Drive ones. I'm not buying the Ghost ones. I'm done with this show. I skipped the spring movie this year because I didn't want to pull up with the bullshit. I really, by that point, I should have stopped with the entire show itself, and I'm repeating myself because I'm very frustrated at this point. So, final recommendation. do not watch Ghost if you didn't watch it and just watch these videos. Hopefully we'll be better with Xide, and I think I need to write something new with Zell for when we get to Amazons next year. But that's something else. Releasing tomorrow, Part 1 of Mass Effect 3. You'll have all of that done in a week. I'm finishing the Makai Senki reviews literally as this video is going live. I've been working really hard on those. I liked what I did with that one. See y'all.